A paperclip, a piece of chewing gum, 30 seconds, and a problem that would stop anyone else cold. For 7 seasons, MacGyver convinced an entire generation that the most dangerous thing in any room wasn't a weapon. It was a man who understood physics. The show that turned a Swiss Army knife into a cultural icon, made duct tape aspirational, and inspired real engineers and scientists who still cite it as the reason they chose their careers. Today, 15 facts about MacGyver, from the casting decision that almost gave us a completely different hero, to the episode the US government asked the producers not to air, to the scientific consultant replaced because the show's solutions were too accurate. Stick around for the bonus. It involves the CIA, a production memo, and the moment a television show became a genuine national security concern. Fact 1. The role that almost went to someone nobody would have believed. Before Richard Dean Anderson became MacGyver, Tom Selleck was among those discussed, already famous from Magnum PY, already the decade's definition of rugged competence. His existing contract made him unavailable. Others were screen-tested and rejected for an inability to sell the show's central conceit, that this man was genuinely smarter than the situation, without ever looking like he was performing it. Anderson walked in and didn't perform it at all. He simply was it. The producers stopped looking. Fact 2. MacGyver never used a gun, and the network hated it. From the very first episode, MacGyver carried no firearm. It was a deliberate creative choice by creator Lee David Zlotoff, a personal statement that problems could be solved without violence. A BC pushed back repeatedly. An action hero without a gun was commercially risky in a landscape where gunfire was essentially punctuation. The producers held the line. MacGyver never fired a gun in 7 seasons, 139 episodes. The no-gun rule became the character's most distinctive quality, the thing that separated him from every other action hero on television and made him genuinely interesting to an audience that had seen plenty of the alternative. Fact 3. The consultant hired to make the science real was fired for making it too real. In the early seasons, MacGyver employed a consultant whose job was to ensure the improvised solutions were grounded in real science. The consultant was thorough. The solutions worked, which turned out to be the problem. The production began receiving feedback that certain episodes were providing functional instructions for things that functional instructions probably shouldn't cover. Explosives, chemical reactions, devices that real people with real materials could actually build. The consultant was replaced. Scripts were reviewed for solutions that felt plausible but contained deliberate inaccuracies preventing direct replication. Most viewers never noticed. The people paying attention noticed immediately. Fact 4. The episode the US government asked them not to broadcast. After the show ended, a rerun of an episode titled The Prodigal attracted attention from an unexpected quarter. The sequence in which MacGyver constructed a device from readily available materials was accurate enough that officials from a US government agency contacted the production and requested it be pulled from rotation. The specific agency was never officially confirmed. What is confirmed? The episode was quietly removed from syndication packages. The production complied without public comment, and the episode became one of the most discussed in the fan community, specifically because of its absence. Fact 5. The stunt that almost killed Richard Dean Anderson. From the earliest seasons, Anderson performed the majority of his own stunt work, partly practical, partly a reflection of his genuine investment in the character's authenticity. His directors and producers fought him on it regularly. Occasionally, he charmed them into letting him dangle from a helicopter in a net or swing from the end of a rope. Then, one stunt went significantly wrong. Midway through the first season, he fell into a hole while filming and suffered a compressed disc in his back, what Anderson himself later described as an exploded disc, causing a severe sciatic condition. He did not stop filming. He continued working in what he called a fairly crippled state for a year and a half before finally having surgery. 18 months through serious spinal injury, without the audience ever knowing. His stunt double Steve Blaylock began appearing more frequently in later seasons. He continued performing many of his own stunts after the surgery, just not all of them. Fact 6. How did duct tape become the symbol of an entire generation's ingenuity? MacGyver's use of duct tape was not scripted as a recurring motif. It appeared because duct tape is genuinely one of the most versatile materials in existence, and a show built around practical improvisation kept reaching for it because it kept being the right answer. By the 3rd season, the duct tape brand saw measurable sales increases traceable directly to the show, without paying a cent for placement. MacGyver turned duct tape from a hardware store item into a symbol of human ingenuity. Nobody planned it. It just happened, which is, appropriately, exactly how MacGyver would have done it. Fact 7. A fictional character changed the career paths of thousands of real people. The MacGyver effect, the documented phenomenon of viewers pursuing science and engineering careers directly because of the show, has been studied in educational research contexts. Multiple surveys of scientists who entered their fields in the late 1980s and 1990s identified MacGyver as a significant early influence. The mechanism was specific. The show didn't just make science look exciting, it made science look immediately useful. Physical, practical, applied to real problems in real time. A character on television shifted career trajectories. The effect was real enough to have a name. Fact 8. The Swiss Army knife sold out across America, twice. Victorinox tracked two significant sales spikes directly attributable to MacGyver. Both times, retailers reported inventory shortages geographically concentrated in the United States. Tracking the show's broadcast schedule, Victorinox eventually marketed a specific model as the MacGyver knife. The company had not approached the show. The show had simply used their product well enough that the audience went looking for one. A network that spent 7 seasons trying to put a gun in his hand, a stunt that left the show's star filming with a broken spine for 18 months, without anyone knowing, and duct tape that became a cultural symbol without a single cent of placement money. We're not halfway through, still coming. The first name nobody used. The co-star whose real blindness became his character's storyline. And the bonus, the CIA, a production memo, and the moment this show became a genuine national security concern. Fact 9. MacGyver had no first name, and when they finally revealed it, the audience ignored it. MacGyver's first name was withheld for all 7 seasons, a deliberate decision that the absence made the character more universal, a man defined entirely by what he could do rather than who he was. The name Angus was revealed once, in a single late series episode. The audience's reaction was uniform. Nobody used it. The name appeared once and was quietly retired. The audience had already decided who he was. A first name wasn't part of it. Fact 10. The actor who went blind on screen was going blind in real life at the same time. Dana Elcar, who played Pete Thornton, was diagnosed with glaucoma during the show's run. Rather than write the character out, the producers incorporated his real condition directly into the storyline. Pete developed glaucoma on screen, dealt with progressive vision loss on screen, and ultimately became legally blind on screen, mirroring exactly what was happening to the actor playing him. Viewers watching Pete navigate vision loss were watching a man navigate it for real. Some of the show's most emotionally resonant material came directly from that decision. Fact 11. The cold open was audience manipulation, and nobody called it that. Each episode opened with MacGyver solving a problem before the title card appeared. MacGyver opened with a problem and a solution. By the time the title appeared, the audience had already watched the premise demonstrated and been given a reason to stay, without a single line of expository dialogue. What looked like an exciting cold open was a precisely engineered piece of audience commitment, getting viewers invested before they had the chance to change the channel. The structure was studied by television producers for years after the show ended. Fact 12. The show was banned in different countries for opposite reasons. Some markets pulled episodes because the improvised solutions were too potentially instructive. Others restricted the show because the character's refusal to use violence was seen as an inappropriate model for an action hero. MacGyver was too dangerous in some markets and not dangerous enough in others. Both complaints were about the same man, doing the same things, for the same reasons. Fact 13. Anderson quietly controlled more of the show than his title suggested. By the later seasons, Anderson had accumulated creative influence well beyond his role as lead actor, involved in script approvals, story direction, and casting decisions not reflected in his formal credits. When storylines conflicted with the character as Anderson understood him, they rarely survived to production. The credits said, actor. The reality was considerably more complicated. Fact 14. He was never real. His name is in the dictionary anyway. In 2007, the verb to MacGyver was officially added to Merriam-Webster, defined as making or repairing something using whatever materials are available. MacGyver is the rare case of a fictional person whose name entered the language through a quality rather than a brand. The specific, recognizable act of improvising a solution from whatever is at hand. The show ended in 1992. The dictionary entry came 15 years later. The word had been in common use long before anyone thought to make it official. Fact 15. A new cast, a new budget, a new show, and the same idea that never got old. In 2016, CBS brought MacGyver back. New cast, new setting, new production values. The premise was identical. A hero who solves problems with his brain instead of a gun, using whatever happens to be within reach. The reboot ran for 5 seasons, a respectable run by any measure, but it never quite found its own identity. Every review compared it to the original. What the reboot proved, unintentionally, was something the original's longevity had already suggested. The premise wasn't a product of its time. A hero defined by intelligence rather than firepower, by improvisation rather than weaponry, was just as relevant in 2016 as it had been in 1985. The world had changed completely. The idea hadn't aged a day. And now the bonus I've been saving for last. The CIA, a production memo, and the moment this show crossed a line nobody had thought to draw. During the original run, the production received a formal communication from a U.S. government intelligence agency, not a legal action, but a private request asking them to review specific episodes and consider whether certain improvised solutions contained information sensitive from a national security perspective. The production complied. Scripts were assessed for a new criterion, whether the science was accurate enough to be useful to someone watching with the wrong intentions. The scientific consultant employed for his accuracy was replaced. Deliberate inaccuracies began appearing in solutions that had previously been precise. The show looked exactly the same. It functioned differently. A drama about a man with a Swiss Army knife had attracted the attention of the Central Intelligence Agency, and the show continued for 4 more seasons, watched by millions who had no idea that somewhere in the scripts, a few crucial details had been quietly, carefully, deliberately wrong.